Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Jason White and this is Jason's Weird Reads, and today I am going to be kind of collecting a couple of different events that are going on within YouTube, booktube, and making it my own. What I am going to be doing is I have a huge physical TBR list like a lot of us avid readers do, and I want to shorten it a bit. I want to shorten it by 12. To be honest, and these are all books I bought within the last year to a year and a half, and I want to knock them off my TBR, and I want to do that in 2024. Why didn't I do 20 or 24 and 24 or 24 and 2024? Well, because it's my track record with TBRs is horrendous, so I thought I'd be friendly to myself and not jack it up too much. I think half of 24 is good, which is 12, and so I'm going to all these books I want to read, and I want to read almost desperately some of them because I've heard really good things, and I just need to get to it. All right, first up here I have Paul Trembley, Disappearance at Devil's Rock. Now, the sticker issue. I think we could all us booktubers could make videos ranting for hours about people who put stickers on books. I mean, I'm talking about sellers, not just like people who buy the books. If you want to put stickers in your books, that's fine, that's your choice. But people who sell the books, they at least make the stickers come off easy. Like Chapters Indigo in Canada, they have stickers that they put on their books that peel off real easy, no issues. But places like Costco have these like super glue stickers, and it's annoying. Anyway, I'm going to calm down now, and we're going to talk about the books I want to read. So, Disappearance at Devil's Rock. I'm not going to read the synopsis because, as I mentioned before, I've hauled all these books within the last year to a year and a half. But this is about a kid that goes missing, and I believe they turn up later again. And there's like a mystery around where they went or what happened to them. I love that type of story, and I want to read more Paul Trembley in 2024 as it is anyway. I've only read The Cabin at the End of the World and maybe a couple of short stories. I'm not entirely too sure, but I need to read more Paul Trembley. I need to catch up, and this might be where I start. All right, next up I have an author who when he came out with his debut novel, which I believe is called Blacktop Wasteland, a lot of horror writers that I admire a lot were going on about this guy. He doesn't write horror books, he writes crime fiction. And so I saw this at Chapters, my bookstore, and I picked it up, and it's Razorblade Tears by S.A. Crosby. This is a revenge story, I'm pretty sure. Now, he does have another story that I really want to read because it sort of fits in with what's going on right now. And what's going on right now, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you. I'm recording this on January the 14th. It's a Sunday, and tonight is the first episode of the 4th season of True Detective. And that's a series I absolutely adore. I fell in love with Season 1. Season 2 is awful. Season 3 was really good, but you can't compare to Season 1, but Season 4 is tonight, and it's looking like it's going to be really good. And what does this have to do with S.A. Crosby? Well, nothing really. There's a book, though, that he's written, and I can't remember the name of it. It's not in here, so I think it may have come after Razorblade Tears. But it's been compared to the first season of True Detective, so I definitely want to read that, and I might read it before I read this. So I don't know for sure. I might just dig into this because I have it here, right? It's all ready to go. I even have a bookmark with it from my my bookstore, Mr. Plum Plus. So who knows? But yeah, I definitely want to read S.A. Crosby because a lot of people that I admire go on and on about how good this guy is. And I love crime fiction, and from my understanding, that book I was talking about that I can't remember the name of, he blends crime fiction with horror very well. And like most of his books, though, I don't think have an horror element except for that one. But anyways, this looks really good. I do love a good revenge story as well. And this is actually, I can give you a small synopsis about two fathers whose sons were a gay couple, and both fathers didn't like that about their sons, and but both their sons end up getting murdered, I guess, by the same people, and so they have to overcome their prejudice against their son's sexuality, and they come together to seek revenge, and they don't exactly like each other as well. So there's a lot of room for character development in this book that seems fascinating to me. But yeah, definitely S.A. Crosby. He's an author I need to get to. I mean, as soon as possible. I gotta stop putting it off. I just gotta dig in. All right, this next book here is a book that's been talked about fairly a lot on Book Talk. A lot of people seem to really enjoy this book. It's apparently very weird, and I'm all about the weird stuff. And it's Jawone by Monica Ojeda. I hope I pronounced that right. I got to put it at an angle here so it doesn't... there we go. So there's no glare. Anyways, this book, I don't really know too much about it. I'm not going to go reading the synopsis because I don't want this video getting too long. But like I said, it's a weird book, and there's some people over on TikTok who adore this book, and so I want to see what it's about. So yeah, Jawone, this one is pretty high up on my list. It has been. I would not have bought the physical copy if I wasn't interested in reading it. So, Jawone by Monica Ojeda. I believe this is a translated work too. I'm not entirely sure about that, but let me check here quickly. Yes, it is translated work. It was translated in 2022 by Sarah Booker. So, that's interesting. This is the first English language edition. It was originally published in 2017, so that's interesting. All right, next up, this book. This book has been getting a lot of controversy, and I mean, the cover alone. The cover alone, I've gone on about this book, and I want to read it for many reasons. One is because of the cover, and one is because of what some people who I also respect their opinion of has said about this book. I'm not really... Oh my god. There's illustrations in here, and I just came across one that's really nasty. I mean, it's so nasty I can't even show you. Anyway, yeah, Playground by Aaron Beauregard. that illustration I just looked at, that was awful. Okay, so this is a book about an experimental playground, and you know, I've gone on and on about the cover. The cover itself, it's you know, I'm surprised that it was able to release. I mean, I mean, there's worse. There is worse for extreme horror, but I don't know. This this book is about it's about an experimental playground, and I'm gonna leave it at that because I don't really know too much more. I do know that the experimental playground part involves things like this slide, where there's like saws and children getting like butchered. It's going to be interesting, but I've been wanting to read this since the summer when I purchased it, and so that illustration that I looked at inside this cover is still getting me. I wish I could show you guys, because it was just, I've never seen anything quite like it. It's something that you just don't see. Anyway, yeah, I've been wanting to read this for a long time, and I got to get to it. Alright, next one. This one is a bit of a cheat, because I have read it. Well, at least I listened to it, and I really did not like the narrator. The narrator pulled me out of the story too often with her voice. And it's not that she's a bad narrator. Honestly, I think it was just a bad fit, because the narrator sounded like Wanda Sykes, the actress, the comedian. And I think that, and it's not Wanda Sykes who narrates this book. She just sounds like her. And I think we just needed a more serious voice, I think. Anyways, I'm talking about The Scourge Between Stars by Ness Brown. I bought this after listening to the book, because I knew that there was good stuff in there. I just couldn't pay attention to it. And for whatever reason, like, I know it was because of the narrator. I don't want to say it's only the narrator, right? I think narrators and writers, they often have to have a very good marriage with the writing and the voice. And this didn't have it with the voice. And like I said, I don't think it was because she is a bad narrator at all. I think she could definitely do comedy or even like, I don't know, other genres, but something that's as grim and dark as this, it just didn't fit. And maybe the writing, maybe if the writing is a little bit on the passive side, like sort of some passive writing in there, I have trouble. If there's a lot of passive writing in any book, I have trouble paying attention to it when I'm reading it with my eyes. Never mind if I have to listen to it. So if there's that issue as well, then I definitely need to read it with my eyes. So I want to reread this. I want to see nobody said anything bad about this book except for me. So, and like I said, I do lump a lot of the blame onto the narrator, but it's not the narrator's fault. All right, next up here is Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. I've heard mixed things about this book. This book is a little bit controversial because people either love it or hate it. And there's some people who say that there is bad disability representation. And there's other people who counter that and say that this book fights for disability representation. I don't know what's going on here, but I need to find out. And I picked it up to read it a little while ago, but I stopped on page 20, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but because I had to read, I believe, a book for my book club, which is Jason's Weird Reads book club. You can find it on the Fable app. For a quick plug there, if you're on the Fable app, just do a search for Jason's Weird Reads and you'll find us. Anyway, so I want to read this book and I want to sit down and just really dig into it and enjoy it. And I've been wanting to read it for a long time, since it came out anyway, which I don't believe was all that long ago. There's a lot of people going on about how good it is, and like I said, some people hate it, but I'm going to find out for myself. I really want to read it. Next up is another book with another sticker on it that I've been wanting to read since I heard about it not all that long ago, and it's Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Now, I read a Silvia Moreno Garcia book in 2023. It was Certain Dark Things that I read and I really enjoyed it. It didn't make my top 10 list. But it was good anyway. I really enjoyed it. And this one I hear is very different. It's a Gothic story, which, Mexican Gothic, but I've been wanting to read it for a long time. The sticker issue again. I mean, this, you could see me, I tried to peel this one off too, and it's just not, like, look at that. You get some of it off, and then it leaves that, like, you can't get that off without scrubbing it. And you don't want to scrub your book. So that's frustrating. Anyway, yeah, everyone knows this book, and I've been wanting to read it for a long time as well. It's just one of those books I just never get to, and I don't know why I started with Certain Dark Things when I had this one right here, but that's just how it goes sometimes. Next up is a book by Stephen King. I mentioned in a video recently that I want to fill in the gaps in 2024 with Stephen King books I haven't read. I would say I've read well over half of Stephen King's books, but I haven't read all of them, and there's huge gaps, and the biggest gap are his newer books, like from 2000 to present. And so I want to start plugging in those gaps, and I want to read this one. Everyone who's read this book goes on about how good it is. I don't think I've ever really heard a bad review with this book, and it's obviously Stephen King. It's 11/22/63. This is a chunky boy. It stands at approximately 850 pages or something like that. Yeah, 842 pages. It's a doorstopper. It could be used as a weapon. Ow. And it's by my boy Stephen King. He's a favorite writer of mine. I think with these bigger writers, we tend to be a little bit more harder on them for some reason. So if you've watched my videos over the years, you've probably seen me nitpick at Stephen King's writing, but that's neither here nor there, because I still claim him as one of my favorite writers, if not my all-time favorite writer. I love Stephen King, and this is, of course, is about the JFK assassination, and it involves time travel. Now, Stephen King has written some stories that can grab me like no other story. I'm thinking of Hearts in Atlantis. That collection of novellas really grabbed me, especially the first story. And there's a couple of other stories. I think Bag of Bones, and I can't remember all of them exactly right now, but that Hearts in Atlantis really grabbed me. And I'm hoping that this book has that similar feel that only Stephen King can summon. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. It'll be a challenge. It's been a long time since I've read a physical book this thick, but I'm gonna figure out how to do it exactly without losing a lot of reading time. Okay, this book was not hauled within the last year and a half. I think I hauled it maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but it's a book I've been meaning to read for a very long time. I mean, way too long. It is a collection of 2 novellas, and it's by John Horner Jacobs. They're 2 tales of cosmic horror, and it's a lush and seething hell. I don't know what the stories are about, honestly. I've probably read the synopsis before, but it was so long ago that I've forgotten. But it's a book I've been meaning to read for a long time. I love cosmic horror, and I don't read enough of it. Cosmic horror and weird fiction is the reason why my channel is called Jason's Weird Reads, but I don't read enough of it, and so I do know, however, that there is a week of weird coming up soon, so keep your eyes peeled open for that. This may very well be read during that for me, and I am so much looking forward to that. Cosmic horror, here we come. Alright, only 3 more. I bought this book roughly a year ago. I've been hearing a lot about Darcy Coates, and a lot of people say she writes like a cozy horror type feel, but this is her underwater one. It's From Below. I've been wanting to read this because I love space stories, and I love underwater stories, and I think there is a connection there because they're such isolated conditions, and they're very far away from any type of civilization. I think space obviously would be worse, but being at the bottom of the ocean while being attacked by creatures, that just sounds like you can't get more isolated than that. And I think horror works really, really. I mean, everyone who reads and watches horror movies knows that isolation is typically an issue, like not an issue, but it's an issue in the story within itself. That's why it's so horrifying, is because there's no safety anywhere nearby. And so that's one reason why I want to read this book. And I've been wanting to read Darcy Coates for a long time, and I thought this would be a great place to start because haunted house stories can be, I mean, she writes a lot of haunted house stories, and haunted house stories can be like overdone, and that's one reason why I haven't really checked out too many Darcy Coates books. But if you do know of a really good haunted house story by Darcy Coates, one that you would recommend, please let me know in the comment or deep down there in the darkness, and I will be sure to check that out at some point, because I do want to read some of her haunted house books, but I want to read one that is maybe a little bit more spectacular than the other ones. Right, 2 more here. I've talked about this book a lot. I keep meaning to read it, and I just never get around to it. Tim Curran is one of my favorite writers, and this book, I mean, look at that art. I've talked about the art on this book before. It's incredible, and it's like a wraparound. It's his werewolf story. It's Blooding Night. And Tim Curran doing a werewolf story, it's like maybe that should have been a thing long before it actually became a thing. And every time I talk about this book, I have to talk about the fact that it's numbered. It's only 100 books, and this is number 68, and it's signed by both the writer, Tim Curran, and the artist who did the art for the book, which is... I should probably read his name too, because I keep going on about the art. K.L. Turner, who did a fantastic job here. And this came out in 2022. I don't know if it's available in any other format, and I'm almost afraid to read it. I'm afraid to read books like these that were limited to like 100 books or 200 books, because you're afraid of like getting coffee on it or something, or breaking the spine and the pages falling out. I mean, it would almost feel a little bit like murder in a weird way, because there's so little of these books out there. All right, last book. It's a science fiction book by one of my favorite science fiction authors. In my opinion, nobody does science fiction like Alastair Reynolds, and I've heard that this book is one of those mind-blowing books that I love. So I really have been wanting to get to this book for a long time, and it's House of Suns by, as I mentioned, Alastair Reynolds. So this book, from my understanding, goes like the time period in this book is a very big time period, and I think it's here. I'm going to break my rule for this video and read the synopsis for this one, because I need a reminder as to why this book is so mind-blowing. 6 million years ago, at the dawn of the starfaring era, Abigail Gentian fractured herself into 1,000 male and female clones, which she called Shatterlings. She sent them out into the galaxy to observe and document the rise and fall of countless human empires. Since then, every 200,000 years, they gather to exchange news and memories of their travels. So that's just the idea of what humanity learns, and space exploration and all that. That's what's going to blow my mind with this book. It's another chunky one. It's about 500 pages, but I'm not going to let that scare me off. I love books like this, and this is the type of science fiction I believe that I would enjoy most, so I'm hoping that I can dig into this as soon as possible. Alright, so those are my 12 books for 24 from my own physical library that I want to read in 2024. So thank you for watching, my weird friends. Keep being safe and keep being creative, and I'll catch you guys in the next bookish video.